In the brutal, loudmouth world of mixed martial arts, greatness is often measured by the noise you make. But what about a greatness so quiet, so mechanically perfect, that the world almost missed it? This is the story of a 5'3" king who ruled without fanfare. A man who worked a 9-to-5 job even as he was dismantling the world's best fighters. His name is Demetrious Mighty Mouse Johnson. With a record of 29 wins against only 4 losses, he didn't just win, he authored a masterclass in technical domination. He holds the UFC record for 11 consecutive title defenses, a feat of consistency and skill that places him in the conversation for the greatest of all time. But his journey from a challenging childhood to the apex of global combat sports is a different kind of victory altogether. This is not just a story of fights and championships. It's a story of quiet resilience, of redefining strength and proving that true power doesn't need to scream. This is Demetrious Johnson's golden era. Demetrious Johnson's toughness wasn't born in the gym. It was forged in the fires of a challenging childhood. He grew up with an abusive stepfather, an experience that, rather than break him, became a lesson in what kind of man he did not want to be. He reflects on it not with anger, but with clarity. I can look at it as a hindrance, but I always look at it as a positive where it shaped me into the person I am today.
I mean, this was a long job, but at the time when I was doing this, I was living in Lakewood, and so I had to be on the job site at 7 a.m., work till 3, then from 3, go straight to the gym, do CrossFit at 3:30, do CrossFit from 3:30 to 5, go to the gym and do workout at 5 to 7, go home, eat, sleep, rinse and repeat, right? And I always tell people, oh man, you should fight, you're professional athlete. I was like, you don't make shit as an athlete, as a professional athlete, you don't. So that's why I always worked full time. And being in construction was always, it's labor, right? Like, I'm not saying I'm not smart, but I just like working hard to make my money.
His compass was his mother, a deaf woman who raised her children with unwavering kindness and support, her quiet strength becoming his blueprint. He found his outlet on the wrestling mats, loving the one-on-one accountability. But the path to MMA wasn't glamorous. Long after he'd made his professional debut, Johnson was still working a grueling full-time job in a factory. In a moment that defines his incredible grit, he once fought with a broken hand that had a metal rod inserted. It was so cold in there that winter that the rod froze. I could feel it right into the bones in my hand. But I had to be at work to keep my job, he recalls.
What do you do for a regular living?
I work at a recycling plant. It's called a Carestar. So we basically take paper and we recycle it and turn it into like paper, and we make tubes out of it, protection board. And I'm the guy who puts in a big machine, and I sit there and I'm like, okay, we got to set up at 2.5 inches and chop it up, and I put it in a box and I send it out to a customer.
Damn!
Yeah.
That's a real job. You got like a job.
Yep. This is for fun, Like I said, they call me and they're like, hey, you want to fight? And I'm like, I'd love to, And then I get 1 week away from my job and come down here and, give the fans what they want and put on a good performance on Saturday night. So
because of the adversities that he's gone through, it's definitely formed him and shaped him into who he is now.
I was raised by my mother, who's deaf. And when we were being raised, she told us to always look her in the face when we talk. That way she can read our lips. I didn't realize it until my sister told me that, like, hey, Mom's deaf, right? And I was like, no, she's not. And my mom was like, yes, I'm deaf.
He was building a champion's discipline, not with trophies, but with mortgage payments and a determination to provide a better life for his own future family. When he finally committed to fighting full-time, the MMA world witnessed the rise of a perfect machine. Johnson wasn't just a wrestler or a striker. He was the first true mixed martial artist, blending all disciplines into a seamless, unstoppable force. The stats tell a story of sheer dominance. Significant striking accuracy, 54% takedown average, 3.35 per 15 minutes. Striking defense, 67%. But numbers can't capture the artistry. His 11 consecutive title defenses were a showcase of evolving genius. He could out-wrestle a wrestler, outstrike a striker, and then, in a moment that defied belief, he would invent a new finish. His suplex into an armbar against Ray Borg is still considered one of the greatest, most innovative submissions in the history of the sport. He was so dominant that he made the extraordinary look routine. The media sang his praises, with outlets like ESPN calling him one of the best in the world. Yet a narrative persisted. Was his dominance a product of a weak division? This hidden context, the lack of mainstream credit, fueled a quiet fire.
Yeah, obviously I'm not in the sport of, taking concussions and taking blows. That Vienna and Bobby Green fight, amazing fight. But when I'm sitting back there, everybody's like, oh, man, it's a tough fight, it's a tough fight. I'm like, man, I'm really worried about the concussions they're receiving right now. They're just taking concussions and concussions. And I learned my lesson a long time ago when I stood and banged with somebody. Matt goes, you're such an idiot. He goes, that's not your skill set. Your skill set's to be able to move fluidly through the aspect of mixed martial arts. So when I'm in there and I see Ray Bortz walking forward, I'm like, okay, he's plotting that front foot. I'm an inside 9. I'm gonna pop the jab. Okay, I'm gonna move. I'm gonna switch to southpaw. I'm gonna throw the body kick. And then he wants to catch my kick. So I'll throw it and he'll catch it. And I make sure I just keep it heavy on his head. So I look at my opponent and see what they're good at. And then I try to take it away from them. And then I look for the submission or the finish.
At the height of his powers, the UFC made a decision that shocked the world.
Ordered Ben Askren to be traded to the UFC in exchange for Demetrious Johnson to be traded to one championship.
But there it is. Demetrious Johnson appears to be headed to one, and Ben Askren appears to be headed to the UFC.
They traded Demetrious Johnson. It was framed as a business move, but to fans it felt like an unforgivable dismissal of their quiet king. For Johnson, it was a release. He moved to one championship, not as a fading star, but as a man seeking respect.
The Askren DJ trade is good for MMA, period.
Now the DJ has gone to one. Demetrious Johnson just left the UFC and went over to ONE FC. ONE FC, for people who have no idea what we're talking about, is a gigantic organization in Asia. They are literally the equivalent to the UFC in Asia. And although many people in America are not aware of them, they don't know who they are, they're a huge organization overseas. Absolutely gigantic, and they do a fantastic job. They have real high-level fighters.
And he proved his greatness was universal, capturing the ONE Flyweight world title in a spectacular knockout via a flying knee. He finished his career on his own terms. After a victorious trilogy fight, the man who had everything to prove had nothing left to. In retirement, his influence only grows. When current UFC champion Alexandre Pantoja recently called him out, proclaiming, "I'm the GOAT here," Johnson's response was telling. He acknowledged the $2 million offer, but declined, stating simply, "I don't care to fight anymore." The fire that once burned in the factory and the Octagon had found a new fuel: family and freedom.
Denver, show some love to the GOAT, Demetrious Mighty Mouse Johnson!
I want to say thank you so much to the fans. You guys have always been amazing to me to live out my dreams and show my passion through martial arts. I want to say thank you to all of my teammates. I am done competing in mixed martial arts, and I want to say thank you guys so much for giving me the opportunity. Appreciate you guys.
So what is the true legacy of Demetrious Johnson? The stats are set in stone, but his impact is felt in the lives he inspires. He redefined the GOAT conversation, not with trash talk, but with flawless technique and an unwavering work ethic. Fan sentiment is complex but overwhelmingly positive. He is a hero to purists and a role model for those who believe character counts.
Are you Gucci belt or Jiu-Jitsu belt?
Jiu-Jitsu belt.
I don't have black belt, but I have gold belt. You're supposed to jump.
Oh, my bad. I do 10 more, okay? Hey, first day to drop.
I will talk.
You couldn't say that when I did the first one, wrong?
What?
Hard, that is hard. I think you feel.
He challenged the very image of a fighter. He was a dedicated professional, a loving husband and father.
I'd be able to travel to Asia multiple times, be able to give my wife and kids a life that I didn't have, be able to put my kids through college. So that's what it matters the most to me.
And an elite gamer. He showed that masculinity isn't a one-dimensional caricature. It can be humble, intelligent, and nurturing. In retirement, he's become a successful content creator with over 1.45 million subscribers on YouTube, proving his sharp mind is as potent outside the cage as it was inside. His story is a powerful lesson. Greatness doesn't need to be loud to be heard, and strength is best measured by what you build, not what you break. Demetrious Johnson's story is a blueprint for technical mastery, a blueprint for overcoming adversity with grace, a blueprint for being a great competitor and an even better man. He entered the arena 33 times as a professional and left with his legacy intact and his values untouched. His greatest victory was remaining true to himself, an unconquered champion in every sense of the word.
So you've had so many transitions in your life, now transitioning to, the back end of your career with one, and kind of what's looking at in the future. Like, what's been the toughest part for you?
I would say, honestly, just being busy and staying consistent. I've always worked my whole entire life, ever since I was 15 and a half, working at, Park Predators, sweeping the golf course, and even up to when I fought for my first world title fight in the UFC, I was working full time. So for me, always staying busy is kind of built into my nature. And now, like you said, I'm on the back end of my career where I'm not competing as often as I was when I was in the prime of my career, like 3 to 2 times a year. And now I'm focused on just building content, building my brand as big as I can, and trying to be present with my kids, my wife, and present in building the content as well. And that's probably the hardest thing, is always trying to evolve as not just an athlete or businessman, but as a person.
What's been the funnest part of your career, when you look back and be like, damn, that was it?
Yeah, I'll say, honestly, probably creating content, hanging out with other athletes, and just traveling with my wife. That was probably the best part. And travel with my teammates and the coaches. That was probably my favorite part of the career.
I would say one of your most swaggerific finishes. It was when you went from the WWE suplex into the armbar.
Yeah.
Why don't you think that was your greatest one? Because I feel like that's one of your best highlights.
I think technical wise, yes. It's never been done before.
Yeah.
And I mean, it is. You said got to pick one, and I just I just picked one. I mean, that one was probably like something that probably would never be done again, ever. And there's people who've tried, and people try to do it to me all the time. I was like, you don't have the explosivity to throw me up and catch me. And we were just working that in the gym, working on how to force somebody to distribute their weight for you.
Right.
And in my whole training career, like I trained with, Microsoft employees, which is, if somebody does a switch and they sit out like this, you grab their chin and you pull them down, and then you bring them down to the ground to pin them. And then another thing we always try to focus on is like when somebody loses their balance, the first thing they do is they catch their balance by throwing their hands out.
Correct.
And I was like, okay, he did it to me. And I was like, okay, well, teach it to me. And he was explaining to me every, concept of that move. And then when I was in that fight, I was beating Ray Borg, and I'm beating him. And I was like, you know what? I can't move you right now. I was like, let me see if I can shift your weight real quick. And I'm hitting him, and you see him, he's sitting there like this, holding, and he goes, huh! And I was like, you did it, perfect. And I was like, come on. I threw him up, and I got it. And to be able to beat him all 5 rounds and then do that, it was like, yeah, people loved it, and people all around the world are like, I've been watching this sport since the 90s.
Never seen it.
I've never seen anything like that before, and I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. It speaks to what you talked about earlier, how you feel like you found fighting. Because when I watch you in the Octagon, some guys go in there just they want to punish something, right? It's brute force. I'm walking through whatever you throw at me. You're more tactical.
Yeah.
So that was like, pause. I could see it in your eyes.
Yeah.
I saw it when you went to throw him. You were immediately already thinking you were 3 steps ahead. And that's why you're able to catch that. Most guys don't do that. I see a lot of guys get knockouts. I'm sure you see it as well. And they close their eyes. They don't know what they're hitting. They're just swinging. And I've never seen you fight that way. So I think it speaks to exactly what you were talking about.
What does Demetrious Johnson's legacy mean to you? Does his quiet dominance and principled life inspire you? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you believe in celebrating men who lead with skill and integrity, like and subscribe to Celebrate Men for more stories from the Golden Era.